My name's Cullen Hable. I do a lot of things, and one of those is teach business research methods, but also I supervise projects using quantitative techniques. There's many techniques, but this one I want to talk about called needs-based segmentation, so that instead of just saying, oh, they're an old person, they're going to want large print on their calculator, or they're male, so they're going to want something to do with mail on their bottle of spring water or whatever. I think the best way to do it is to go from the needs of the customer and identify clusters of those needs, so needs-based market segments, and then go on and describe who it is in that market segment. So here's an assortment of recordings from a fairly raucous marketing class that I ran in the middle of 2018, but it does help us understand this idea of needs-based segmentation.
In there. All right, that's great. Now, one of my techniques is to just start doing my own stuff to get the room to settle, and then it's Ashley and Kess. Is it right? Is it Ashley and Kess going with the slope? Not yet, but I'll give me about.
No, it's me and Andrew.
Andrew and you look like you were collaborating. I'm not meaning to point or anything, but you look like you were cooking something up. You probably are. Look, just as far as our 4 tables go, we want to come up with another couple of attributes here for Jam. Sort of the loose game I'm playing here is Berenberg versus a generic own label, maybe even just Woolworth's own label. But yeah, look, not even that. Like you know how a supermarket brand is a supermarket brand is a medium, but yeah, I mean you've got Black and Gold, then you've got Woolly Select, which is pretty good. I mean, even now supermarket brands are a bit, but and then Collies is a manufacturer brand that solves deals with some stuff as well. And then Berenberg's is a premium manufacturer brand. So that's the game that I'm thinking. But before we get back to that, let's get down to customers. And this is a bit arse about, but I promise you just suspend disbelief. we only really want one more attribute to be thought of, 1 or 2 maybe attributes to be thought of, but think of an attribute that is jumped on as a positive thing by a certain type of. No, I'm just briefing it at the moment.
Just wanted to get the word out.
You're right. You're right. So I'm thinking about customer types, right? Customer types, and I'm going to roll out Patrick's suggestion there because it's just jumped. No, not at all. Not at all. That's totally all right. So, customer types, Price Bandit. Price Bandit. Well-heeled, meaning I've got plenty of money and I actually like the good things in life. Price Bandit, well-heeled. What other profile of customer do we think sort of buys?
Social conscious.
That's the one. Yeah, that's going right to what Marie was saying. Yep. Social conscious. And look, this goes to what Patrick was talking about, and that was
Locally produced.
Yeah. So the locally produced is the attribute. Yeah. All right. Persistence pays. But that means you've got got one less thing to be able to come up with now, because the type of customer that does that is patriotic, let's say patriotic South Australian. I'm going to throw the cards up in the air. So if you're, let's just move around once. We here we'll make you price sensitive, price conscious consumers now. When we roll price conscious, image conscious. All right. So what I'm going to do, just say, all right, I am that person. All right. I live in outer suburban Adelaide with no baggage. All respect. I live in outer suburban Adelaide.
Are they vegetarian?
That's the long tail. But yeah, I've got 4 children. I work in blue collar work, and it sounds horrible for me to be saying that, but I don't say it with a sense of superiority. I say it as a reality that go the other side. When we look at people who identify as price conscious, then they tend to share these sorts of things, lower incomes, blue collar, all that sort of thing. And yes, I know we could get into the talk about the Burnside lady who is a real price bandit. So I know that there are.
We had that discussion.
Yeah, I know there are exceptions. Not even exceptions. But we're talking about gross pictures. So social conscience and proud South Australian, patriotic South Australian. All right. Now, what we're doing here is think of the segment. You are representing the segment, and I should do this so you don't cheat. All right, I'll leave. No, that doesn't help. But you're allowed to cheat if you can see what's there. But how important is? I'm saying I'm that family person in the outer suburbs, and it's a gross generalisation, but it's not meant with disrespect to any people in society. But this is what segmentation really is. Well, I don't. Out of 10, sugar free. So 1 out of 10. I'm not telling you what to say, but low sugar, low I've doubled up. How silly of me. Get rid of that.
You can have low cal and sugar free. You just take the sugar out of the second one and you'll be right.
Yeah, I know. There we go. See, there we go. I'm getting arguments again. They're different. Well, no, not enough. There we go. Right, I'm price conscious. I don't care about low sugar, low calorie. Yeah, man, I carry it. That's a 9 family sizes. That's a 2 or a 3. Sustainably sourced, that's a 2 or a 3. Deeply discounted, yeah, man. I'm all for that. All right. So that's what we're doing. We say we are that segment, and we go through that. And I know it's gross, but that's what I want us to do. So we'll get a picture. So go through those attributes. Everybody gets a chance. Let's do it now. And all I want to do, no joke, I'm going to pull my mouse out in a moment, and I'm going to want somebody to say. I'm just going to want to go like this. 8, 5, 3, 2. Okay. So we'll do it like that. I want to get our version of what the data is going to be. All right. So we only need a couple of minutes for this. Yes. Get it out of there. Beautiful. That's getting me a lot closer to the number I wanted, which was about 10 to a dozen. That's 11. Love a prime number as well.
It screwed up my numbering.
Oh, how hurtful. Just remember, I've put communicates prestige in there twice, so now I've pulled out.
You pulled out the top one.
All right, let's do this. Who's ready to shout at me? Sean? Yep.
We're the patriotic South Australians.
Yep.
So we've got 0,
Yep.
0,
Yep.
10,
Yep.
8,
8.
Yeah.
Yep.
So we call this a bonus. So the next one we've called a bonus.
Bonus, yep.
Yeah. So it's like a bonus points. I don't know. Like it would be nice.
How much for deeply? Sorry.
Well, it's like a bonus, so it makes no difference. But if it is deeply discounted, that's a bonus. Because we're not price sensitive, but it's sort of like.
So would you say that's a 5 then?
Yeah, say 5. Yeah. I totally get what you're saying, and you're almost talking about second round effects and and man, I don't even know the maths. I wouldn't even know where to start talking about that. But I'll keep it as simple as I can. I'm not really that clever.
5 for the one above.
No, that label says same as well. Yeah. Vegan 0.
0 for vegans. Yep.
Locally reduced 10.
10. Yep.
Quality was 10.
Yep.
Heritage was 10.
Yep.
10.
10. Yep.
8.
8.
5. Because we had that bonus too.
Yep. Sure. I'm hearing exactly what you're saying there. Now, if I take this away and manipulate it, then that's because I'm in the world of faking up data. All right, and so your raw stuff that you give me here is a great move, but I might end up taking things from zeros and turning them into 2s and 3s just to paint the picture. Price, people?
Yep.
Yeah.
Yeah, we can tell.
It's really efficient.
These two, particularly this guy.
2.
8.
Yep.
4.
Yep.
1. 10. 1. 4. 1.
Ah, Colin. Yep.
Where are we up to? Heritage? 1.
Great.
Prestige. Again.
0.
1.
1. Yep.
Ethically is 1, and then value for money is 7.
7. Great. Excellent. This is all. Yep. Great. Image.
Yep, so we went 7,
Yep.
2,
Yep.
8,
Yep.
6,
Yep.
2,
Yep.
5,
Yep.
8,
8. Yep.
9,
Yep.
7,
7.
9,
9.
7, 3.
7. 3.
We did have a bit of a debate though on the prestige part because like no matter how well off you are, you know, but like you're not going to spend that much on jam. Like jam's not really going to communicate much prestige unless it's gold plated.
No, I'm hearing you. I mean, yeah, and they're all valid discussions to have. Sort of.
They did agree. I
sort
got
of
rolled on that point.
We just go. Let's sidestep that. I end up sidestepping red wine conversations all day in these things. So let's go. Social conscience. 5.
2.
Yep.
8.
Yep.
9.
Yes.
6.
Yep.
8. 9. 5. 8. 5. 9. 4.
Right. Good. Now so what we did here. Hopefully, I wish I had the Men in Black memory wiping thing. Okay, because really what you did here was something that I wish you hadn't done, and that's because you were talking about, oh, hang on, this image conscious people would rate this high and all that. It's still a useful process, but I want to step back and say, let's just pretend we ran a piece of market research and got 1,000 responses and pressed a magic button in a computer, which is very easy to do, pressed a magic button in a computer that ended up just giving us this, all right? So you didn't do all of this, umming and ahhing, but like the discussion that we had about who would what, and totally, we're doing the right thing because we're thinking about customers' needs, perceptions, and what they would do. But let's just pretend that we didn't do that, and this is just mildly annoying. Let me mildly unannoy myself. That'll work better. Mildly unannoy myself, so that we and there we are. We're looking. That's the data. Now we can collect this data in a bunch of different ways. The easiest way is just to list to run a question in Qualtrics that says, when you consider buying strawberry jam, how important do you consider low sugar? And then you run that for 1,000 people. Everybody just gives a scale 1 to 10 there. And I'm going to tell you, that's not a bad way of doing it. That just asking people how much do you consider, how important do you consider each of these things to be. So instead of being this is the final data, but imagine a questionnaire that just goes like that. If I really wanted to do that, no joke, this is how easy this darn thing is.
Is that just a simple average or something like that of each of those lines?
In a moment, yeah. No, we're going to do a thing called a factor analysis that clusters all of them, and then when we get that factor, we're going to get higher order dimensions, and hopefully those higher order dimensions are going to lock into a certain type of person. And that's a mouthful of stuff that you probably just went, shut up, Cullen.
Oh,
all right. So, but let me show you this I'm going to call it factor supermarkets. I'm going to call it factor supermarkets. But factor jam, isn't it? Factor jam, like MBA jam. Factor jam, MBA, MM. Try. Dad joke. Are you accusing me of a dad joke?
No.
Oh, geez.
She just raised Big Jam.
Yeah.
No. Oh, Fig Jam is a dad joke, but so is NBA Jam a dad joke, and a 1990s dad joke. All right, when you buy strawberry jam, how important do you consider it that, and change this question from multiple choice to a matrix table, put those in, lovely, increase those scale points so that we get 7, 10 we said we'd do, wouldn't we?
Oh, wow.
Not at all important. Let's play this game. There's only one way to do this. Oh, unhelpful. Qualtrics is trying to be too friendly. 10, extremely important. Actually, I'll just steal that one. Put that there. Put a bunch of spaces in here so that we've got it. I know what you're saying. Why are you showing me this? Anyway, we've collected our data collection tool. So in that split second, keyed all that stuff in, and we've actually run how important is this, and then we end up getting our scores 1 to 10. Raw data, get 1,000 responses, which is, we wouldn't if we were doing our own project, get 100 responses. You could still do it with 100. And then everybody who answers this answers with where they thought it was on here. They also later on in the survey go in, they tell you whether they're male or female, they tell you what their income is, they tell you all of that sort of thing, which is all very useful stuff as well. And any minute now we're going to get to this thing, my hot button, which is needs-based segmentation. You can sort of see, well, let's do it. Let's do the magic. All right, let's pretend that we've collected the data. We do the magic, highlight this, conditional formatting, new rule, go with the default. Oh, look at this, clustering of attributes. And so there's our clustering of attributes around, that's what I wanted this. There's our clustering of attributes around patriotic South Australian stuff. Remember, we're pretending that we collected this data. There's our clustering of attributes. I'm actually going to go with only the 8s and 9s. There's our clustering of attributes based on consumer ratings of social conscious stuff. So interesting, and this is what you would get, to be honest, if we were actually collecting real data and we ran this thing called a factor analysis, and the factor analysis gave us this output, which is exactly what it does. We'd end up getting this sort of cross-loading. Wow, the people who this set that say that proud South Australian are also both bunches of people are rating them high. But you know, some really stark segments that came out here were these price-related attributes. And then some other stark segments, some other stark correlations, I suppose we call it, are these are these ones. And so, so in a way that actually goes right to what this reading was about rediscovering market segmentation and the crap that other universities teach us is, how do other universities teach segmentation? We've also, not all, but many of us have had application of introduction to segmentation. Right, the segment I'm after is the female and 35 to 50, and they start with the consumer attributes, and then they say, oh yeah, because they're female and 35 to 50, surely they're going to be interested in this stuff. And then they try to build a product based on, gee, all right, well, you must want that. This person's over 65 years old. Surely they're going to want a large print calculator and a large print screen on their phone. That just sounds so wrong. It just doesn't sound the way that marketing should be done. Well, we should go and let the people say what they want. So you get them to give you their importance ratings of how important these are, clump them, run a thousand surveys, clump them, and then the 300 people who might be in this price conscious, look at what's different about them. Do they have large families? Do they have low incomes? Do they whatever? Price conscious tends to, I think, fall out by itself, but then maybe you might also find a small subset of bedside ladies or whatever who are price conscious in that bunch of real data that we've got. But more importantly, when we want to find out about what these attributes cluster into, because remember, this is a fishing exercise. We won't even know what these clusterings are, and we won't even know what how many of these groupings there will be. But if you just go with me, trust me that we've got the techniques to do this. It's just it's very straightforward. The important thing for us is what we call a battery of attributes that we think are going to capture clusterings of customer needs. All right, quite obviously, I didn't include these sorts of attributes that would capture the health-conscious consumer. There was the vegan-friendly probably, and the low sugar might go towards capturing that. But your job, I think, even as you design your market research for different product categories you might be thinking about, what things can we build into our product that we can then go on and get responses for? So we really are moving into that session 4 segmentation stuff. I know that it seems freewheeling and Cullen's waving his hands again, but pretty soon we'll get a chance to look at that rediscovering market segmentation, which really does pretty much dovetail into this process that we're doing right here. Shall I, just for completeness, because it would be really weird for us to at least not brief up the assessment task 2, the assignment. Should we just have a look at that right now, or should we put it somewhere else? The junky way of doing segmentation is segmentation. We've got version 1, a priori, which is females 35 to 50. Surely they're going to want this type of product. Males and females over 65. Surely they're going to want a phone that's got large text on it or whatever. So a priori looks at customer characteristics and infers needs. Yes, they're old, they're going to need large print. They're female, maybe they're going to want whatever gross generalisations you might make about they're female, they'll want this, they're male, they'll want that. I'm not much of a fan of that, as you might have guessed. And the good stuff, which is what we just did, which was needs-based. You've got to be a little more numerically competent, but identify need segments. And I've really just shown you that now. Battery of attributes. Do a thing we call a factor analysis, which is a lot easier than it sounds, but you do need SPSS to do that still. Do a thing that we call a factor analysis, and it gives you data that looks like this. It gives you output that looks, gives you output that looks like that. I mean, this is really just faked up factor analysis output. I've run social enterprise projects with easily 8 to 10 groups who've walked this path, and then bing, they've got this, and they say, wow. Get a score for how much somebody's price conscious, how much they're image conscious, how much they're social conscious, how much patriotic they are, and then you go on. You say, all right, the high scoring people describe the group. Are they older? Are they younger? Are they older? Are they female? Do they earn more? Do they work in blue collar or white collar? Do they have liberal or conservative attitudes? That's the American terminology. But do they have, do they have social justice attitudes or conservative attitudes? So that's the real learning by doing thing that I think we would, that I argue we were just doing. So we named the broad product markets. We did that with jam. Yep, okay, it's fruit conserve and it's strawberry jam. And our job is then segmenting those broad product markets. In a way, this is it. Breaking down the needs into the big picture. The whole big picture, morning spreads on your toast type of thing, generic, and then getting closer to, all right, now I'm going to talk about a product category which is purely strawberry jam. Maybe it's not strawberry jam, but it's jams, you know what I mean? But the thing that we really want to get to is this aggregating people with needs, similar needs, into a market segment. So this aggregating is the button press where we get clumps like this. When I go away and fake up the data, I can guarantee you, because I'm going to rework everybody's bits, I'm going to have a yellow chunk here and a yellow chunk there and a yellow chunk there. And it's, yeah, sure, it's faked up. It'll be faked up the way I've made it, but amazingly it happens when you get a good battery of attributes. Amazingly it happens, SPSS comes back and says, right, this is factor 1, factor 2, factor 3, factor 4. And then we have to look at what the attributes are and say, oh, that looks like a such and such a clustering of needs. Really, really clever stuff. This is, and it goes even better than this. When we talk about the consumer decision process and deciding on whether we go Berenberg, whether as a consumer we go Berenberg or Cotties or Woolworths Select, then we also, as market researchers, can get measures of how well does Berenberg fit on the, forget the low sugar one for a moment, on the family sizes one. How good is Berenberg compared to Woolworths Select on the family sizes available? My perception of family sizes available. And then we get a whole bunch of perceptions of how brands compete with each other. Another little bit of magic like the matrix, and then before you know it, we're into saying, wow, this is a tool for strategy, product design strategy. But one bite at a time. If as you're thinking about, hey, I'd like to build a Qualtrics, we're going to build a Qualtrics thing sometime. Just the idea that you're perhaps thinking about attributes that might capture different sets of consumer needs, we're in the game. And that pretty much because this is where we go. Segmentation is about how the groups of needs exist, how the customer base is organised. Targeting is working out, okay, I reckon, as a brand manager, I reckon I want to go after the patriotic SA segment. Or maybe maybe I'm a black and gold, or I'm looking to provide a super fighter one. I decide I'm going to target the price conscious consumer. So targeting is all right. Well, that's I'm going to choose to go after them based on what I'm capable of, what the profitability might be for for the product area or whatever. And to finish with that, positioning. What shall I do? What shall I build into my product? Shall I build these sorts of things? Anyway. So it's not to say that, one last thing. This goes to theory and it's a little bit further away. The way that we might approach it, we might just go, no, we're going to build a single product that we hope is going to capture enough of everybody's needs. It's a little bit helping the pricey person. It's a little bit quality image. It's a little, and then that's the undifferentiated. We might, as the larger companies often do that, I'm going for a fighter brand that's cheap, a made in South Australia brand that hopefully is, and a segment 3, I don't know, a showy, this is the ultra premium one. So I want us to have a look at rediscovering market segmentation, which will bring us to there, and then maybe we just talk briefly through just a back of the envelope idea. We've been going for a while, haven't we? We've been going. Shall we get a coffee? Yeah. Take a breather. Take a breather from me, and I'll take a breather from me, and we'll come back and have a look at how the rediscovering market segmentation fits into what we're doing. Yeah. So the broader argument that you've made is about retailers and how to implement the marketing mix and all of that. But the very basic argument is our respondents are back to the people who buy jam. Or some of our other respondents, our research, are back to people who buy jam, and back to people who buy, Beerenberg or Cotties or whatever. Our brand, Beerenberg, and potentially, people who buy Cotties. Well, they're jam consumers, so let's talk to them as well. So those are the population.
It's really the analysing of behaviours.
Yeah. And even when we talk about attitudes are really just our best indicators of behaviours. The behaviours being, I buy a conserve that provides me value for money or whatever. So I like to think that it's behaviours, even though all we're doing is getting people to say what they think. I like to think that we're talking about behaviour. And of course, the holy grail for quantitative marketers is the supermarket scan data. The stuff that's captured by Flybys or Woolworths Everyday Rewards or Vintage Sellers Club or whatever. Swipe your card. You're giving them your purchase history, and when you've got your card, you already put all your demographics in. You already told them how much you were earning and how old you are and all of that. And so yeah.
We use words like we're quite responsive and listening to customers, or and the other one is quite static. So segments of developing advertising is where you assume that a certain age group will want a certain thing. So it's actually quite static about what you're trying to advertise. Whereas this one is responsive, and you're responding to what customers are saying, doing, buying.
Yeah.
And I was just written here, the Internet of Things will be the next thing of that, where it's actually scanning what you're buying and all that.
Yeah, and look, anybody who's reasonably user of Googly stuff or whatever, it's always pre-guessing what I want now. Well, 50% right. 50% of the time it's like, I will get that. and yeah, so. And so that data collection, again, back into Google land, that data collection is just happening on an ongoing basis now.
And it's probably, I was just thinking about it now, it's probably actually a good way of doing it because a lot of the behaviours we have, we're not even aware of. So, you know, if you ask people for surveys, this, that and the other.
Yep.
Whereas if you're measuring data using on scanning or whatever, that's actually picking up behaviours some people aren't even conscious of doing.
And
it's real behaviour.
And imagine this goal of single source, which Channel 9 was saying they had, but they didn't because they've got Bing as their search engine people. But imagine, by single source, I mean, imagine the media that people are consuming. Are they watching MasterChef? Have they got Sky News on? If you can get all of their media consumption, their search engine behaviour, their internet browsing behaviour, their somehow through Everyday Rewards doing deals with 9MSN, and then their purchasing behaviour, and Google Maps with their travel behaviour and check-in behaviour, it's like, I mean, we are all going to help marketers, you know, just because you go, okay, well, we're in the matrix now, and all we need is to, and it's all part of that data collection. Fair enough, on the very basics we do this, but you know, maybe in the world of the future, good or bad, maybe that's where marketing's headed for good or bad.
So there it is. That's the theoretical grounding of needs-based segmentation. We made up numbers, we put them into a spreadsheet, and that's all fine. I have a practical application of this technique, and it involves, you would have seen it a little bit on the screen there, it involves actually measuring the importance of the various attributes and then running a technique called factor analysis that allows us to give a score for how much each person is one of those segments. It's a great technique. I think it's something that I sort of created, but maybe I didn't. You know, nothing's new in the world, right? So future videos, I'll probably do that, where I take a battery of attributes and the importance rating of those attributes, create a factor analysis, and then those clusters of importance ratings create needs-based segments. It's a cool technique. I've been using it with students for about 1.5 years now. I like the look of it. So maybe that's the next video. This was needs-based segmentation theoretical.